Daniel has been saving for 3 years. He has a good job. He does everything right. He has $40,000 saved for a down payment, and he still cannot afford a house in the city he grew up in. He is not failing at adulthood. The math is just broken. And today, I am going to show you exactly why. And Daniel is not alone. In 2026, the share of first-time buyers in the housing market has fallen to its lowest level in recorded history. Home ownership rates for people under 35 are collapsing. The average age of a first-time buyer is now 38. That number was 29 in 1980. Something has fundamentally broken, and it is not a generation that drinks too much coffee or cannot manage a budget. My name is Adam. MBA, 30 years of real financial experience. I have watched housing cycles come and go. This one is genuinely different, and I am going to show you exactly why, in plain numbers, so you can make decisions with your eyes open instead of your emotions running the show. The question I get asked more than any other right now is this: should I buy now or wait? And I am going to answer it honestly at the end of this video. But to answer it properly, you first need to understand 3 things about how the housing market became this broken. Because without understanding the cause, any decision you make is just a guess. Here's how the housing market broke. 3 dominoes fell in sequence, and none of them are your fault. Domino 1. A decade of underbuilding created a structural shortage. Domino 2. 30 months of the cheapest money in history turned that shortage into a frenzy. Domino 3, the fastest interest rate hike in 40 years froze everyone in place. All 3 hit together. The result is the market Daniel is navigating right now. Domino 1, the decade of underbuilding. Between 2010 and 2020, the United States built approximately 5.5 million fewer homes than it needed. Not fewer than people wanted, fewer than demographic growth and household formation mathematically required. The shortage was not created by a bad policy in a single year. It was built brick by brick over an entire decade. Why did builders stop building? After the 2008 financial crisis, the construction industry was devastated. Hundreds of smaller builders went bankrupt. The skilled tradespeople left the industry. Land costs rose. Zoning laws made new development harder and slower in most cities, and the large builders that survived became extremely cautious, building only what they could sell immediately, rather than building ahead of demand the way they had before 2008. And here's the crucial thing about a housing shortage that makes it different from almost every other supply shortage: you cannot fix it quickly. A factory that runs short on product can order more raw materials and ramp up production in weeks. A housing shortage requires land permits, architectural plans, planning approval, financing, construction workers, and 18 to 36 months of actual building time. You cannot just turn on a tap. So when Daniel started looking for a house in 2023, he walked into a market that was already short 5.5 million homes before anything else happened. That shortage alone would have pushed prices higher, even in a completely normal interest rate environment. But then Domino 2 hit. Domino 1 summary. The housing market entered 2020 with a structural shortage of 5.5 million homes. That shortage was a decade in the making. It cannot be fixed quickly, regardless of what interest rates do. It is the foundation of everything else that follows. Quick pause before we get into Domino 2, which is where the real frenzy was created. If this kind of honest financial breakdown is helping you understand what is actually happening, please subscribe to Golden Endings right now. New video every single week. Real numbers on real decisions. 2 seconds. Now Domino 2. In March 2020, the Federal Reserve cut interest rates to essentially zero. Mortgage rates, which track closely with the federal funds rate, fell to historic lows. By late 2020 and into 2021, the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate was sitting at 2.65%. That's the lowest mortgage rate in recorded American history. Let me show you what 2.65% actually did to monthly payments, because this is where the frenzy was born.
A $400,000 mortgage at 2.65% costs approximately $1,612. The same $400,000 mortgage today at 7% costs $2,661. Same house, same loan, $1,049 more every single month. That's what changed. When mortgage rates hit 2.65%, everyone who could buy rushed in, and I mean everyone. First-time buyers, move-up buyers, investors, people who had been renting for years and suddenly could afford a monthly payment, all of them flooding into a market that was already short 5.5 million homes, into a supply shortage with the cheapest money ever seen. That's a frenzy. Between January 2020 and June 2022, the median home price in the United States increased by approximately 45%. 45% in 2.5 years. In some markets, Phoenix, Austin, Boise, prices went up 60, 70, even 80%. Years of normal appreciation compressed into 30 months. Daniel was saving his down payment during this period. He did everything right. He was disciplined, he was patient, he watched the prices go up and told himself to keep saving and not panic buy. Then, by the time he had enough saved, the cheap money was gone and the prices hadn't come back down. He was too late for the cheap money and too early for any correction. Domino 2 summary. The cheapest money in history created a buying frenzy into an already short market. Prices went up 45% in 30 months. Those prices are now largely baked in. Even if rates fall significantly, sellers who paid peak prices are unlikely to accept peak minus something for their homes. The price inflation from Domino 2 does not easily reverse. It just stays.
And then, just when the market was at peak frenzy and peak prices, Domino 3 hit. The Federal Reserve began raising interest rates. Not slowly, at the fastest pace in 40 years. Between March 2022 and July 2023, the Fed raised rates 11 times, from near zero to over 5%. The mortgage rate went from 2.65% to over 7% in roughly 18 months. What did the rate hike do to buyers? At 2.65%, a $2,000 monthly budget could get you a $500,000 mortgage. At 7%, the same $2,000 monthly budget gets you a $300,000 mortgage. The rate hike did not just make buying more expensive, it erased $200,000 of buying power from the average buyer's pocket overnight. But here's the truly counterintuitive thing. The rate hike that pushed buyers out of the market also locked sellers into their homes. If you bought your house in 2020 or 2021 at a 2.65% mortgage and you sell it to buy something bigger or somewhere different, you give up that 2.65% forever. Your new mortgage will be at 7%. Most owners would rather stay put than trade a 2.65% mortgage for a 7% one. The scale of this rate lock effect is staggering. Approximately 85 to 90% of outstanding mortgages in the United States have rates below 6%. Around 60% have rates below 4%. These are people who have almost zero financial incentive to sell, which means the supply of homes coming to market has collapsed, making the shortage from Domino 1 dramatically worse. This is the frozen market. The people who need prices to fall are priced out of buying even if they do fall. The people who need to sell are financially trapped by the very low rates that made housing affordable 5 years ago. Everyone is stuck at opposite ends of the same problem for completely opposite reasons, and neither side can move. Here's what the frozen market looks like in actual numbers. Existing home sales in 2023 fell to their lowest level since 1995. Inventory of homes for sale is running at roughly half of what it was in 2019, and the average time a home sits on the market before selling in most cities is still under 30 days. Low supply, fewer transactions, but prices stubbornly high because the shortage from Domino 1 never went away. Let me put Daniel's situation in actual numbers.
He has $40,000 saved, which represents a 10% down payment on a $400,000 home. A $360,000 mortgage at today's rate of approximately 7% costs $2,395 a month, before property taxes and insurance, which add another $400 to $600 typically. His total monthly housing cost? Approximately $2,800 to $3,000 a month. His income needs to be at least $112,000 a year for that to be financially sustainable by conventional lending standards. The median household income in America is around $75,000. And Daniel isn't earning below the median. He's earning above it. He earns $85,000 a year. And the math still doesn't work for the city he lives in. This is what people mean when they say the housing market is broken. Not that houses don't exist, not that banks won't lend. The math just doesn't add up for the vast majority of first-time buyers at current prices and current rates. Here's why this matters. The affordable housing crisis is not a temporary dip in conditions that will self-correct in 6 months. It's structural. The shortage was built over a decade. The prices went up permanently during the frenzy, the rate lock has trapped supply, and there's no fast fix. So, people say, okay, but when rates come back down, everything will fix itself. Let me walk through why that's more complicated than it sounds. Yes, if rates fall from 7% to 5%, some locked-in sellers will choose to move. Some buyers will be able to afford more. But rates falling also tends to bring more buyers into the market at the same time, increasing demand alongside a still constrained supply. The result is not necessarily lower prices. Often it's higher prices faster. Some people are waiting for a crash, a repeat of 2008. Here's why 2008 is unlikely to be the template. 2008 was caused by reckless lending, mortgages given to people who genuinely couldn't afford them. When those loans went bad, the foreclosures flooded the market with supply. Today, lending standards are significantly tighter. The people who own those 2.65% mortgages can afford them. They're not defaulting, they're just not selling. What about new construction? Yes, builders are building more, new home permits and starts have picked up, but remember the context, we're 5.5 million homes short. At current build rates, it would take approximately a decade of above-average construction to close that gap. New construction helps at the margins, it's not a fast solution to a structural shortage built over 10 years. There's no product, no policy, no executive order, and no rate cut that fixes a structural imbalance this large in a single year. This is the honest truth that almost nobody in the housing industry wants to say out loud, because it's not a fun message, but it is the accurate one. And you deserve the accurate one before you make one of the biggest financial decisions of your life. Before we get into what you can actually do right now, if this kind of honest breakdown is helping you understand a situation that has been confusing and stressful, please subscribe to Golden Endings. New video every week, real math on real decisions. Now, let's talk about what you can actually do. Now, let's talk about what Daniel and you can actually do. Not magic solutions, not predictions, 3 specific actions that position you correctly regardless of which way the market moves. Whether prices fall, stay flat, or go higher, these 3 things put you in the strongest possible position. Action 1. Run your real numbers, not the market's numbers. The market will tell you what the listing price is. What you need to calculate is the total monthly cost of ownership. Mortgage payment, property taxes, homeowner's insurance, HOA fees if applicable, and a maintenance reserve of 1% of the home value per year. Add all of those together. Then calculate it as a percentage of your monthly take-home pay. If it's over 30%, the math doesn't work yet. That's not failure, that's just the math.
And here is the calculation most people skip. Compare your total monthly ownership cost to your current rent. If ownership costs $3,000 a month and rent costs $2,000, the premium for ownership is $1,000 a month. That $1,000 invested every month at 8% for 5 years becomes $73,000. That is $73,000 in additional down payment you could have if you rent and invest the difference while you wait for better conditions. Action 2. Build your optionality. The people who will be best positioned when conditions shift are not the ones who are waiting passively. They're the ones who are actively making themselves stronger buyers. 3 specific things. Get pre-approved so you know exactly where you stand. Improve your credit score if it is below 760. Every 20-point improvement above 720 saves money on your rate. And build your down payment in a high-yield savings account, not a standard savings account paying basically nothing. Let me show you the credit score math quickly, because most people underestimate how much it matters. On a $350,000 mortgage, the difference between a 680 credit score and a 760 credit score can be roughly 0.5 to 1% in interest rate. On a 30-year loan, that difference costs approximately $35,000 to $70,000 in additional interest. Spending 6 months improving your credit score before you buy is not just tidying up your finances. It is potentially saving $35,000 to $70,000. Action 3. Decide with your eyes open, not your emotions. The housing market generates more emotional decision-making than almost any other financial area. People buy because their friends are buying, because they feel like they're falling behind, because they are told they're throwing money away renting. None of those are financial reasons. Running the real numbers before you sign is not pessimism. It is the only sane way to navigate a market this expensive and this broken. And I promised at the start I would give you the honest answer on whether to buy now or wait. Here it is. There is no universal right answer, but here's the framework. If the monthly cost of ownership is under 30% of your take-home and you plan to stay for at least 7 years, buying can make sense even in this market. If the monthly cost is over 35% or your timeline is under 5 years, renting and investing the difference is almost certainly the better financial decision right now. And let us close the loop on Daniel. He ran his real numbers. His monthly ownership cost at current prices is 54% of his take-home. He's not buying right now. Not because he's failing, not because he can't manage money, because the math does not support it. He's building his credit score. He moved his savings to a high-yield account. He's investing the difference between what he pays in rent and what ownership would cost. He's not waiting passively. He's building. 3 actions. Run your real numbers and compare them to rent. Build your optionality. Pre-approval, credit score, high-yield savings. Decide with your eyes open, using math, not emotions. These 3 habits put you in the strongest possible position regardless of what the housing market does next. Here's the complete picture in one sentence. The housing market is frozen because a decade of underbuilding created a shortage, then the cheapest money ever created a frenzy, then the fastest rate hikes in 40 years froze everyone in place, and there is no fast way out. 3 dominoes, 1 frozen market, and nothing about any of it is your personal failure. You are not crazy for looking at listings and thinking none of this adds up. It genuinely does not. The average home costs more than 7 times the average household income in many U.S. cities. Historically, a home costs 3 to 4 times income. The math really is broken, and understanding exactly why it is broken, that's the first step toward making a decision that actually works for you. Drop a comment below right now. Are you currently trying to buy, renting and waiting, or have you already bought and are watching this market from the sidelines? I want to know where you are in this. I read every single comment. Share this video with anyone you know who is trying to figure out whether to buy right now. The conversation around their kitchen table deserves these real numbers, not a real estate agent's pitch, not fear, not hype, just the actual math. Send it to them before they sign anything. Before we close, I want to say something clearly to everyone watching who is in Daniel's situation. You are not failing at adulthood. A generation of people can't afford homes not because they made bad financial decisions, but because the structural conditions they inherited were designed to make it harder. Understanding that is not an excuse. It's an accurate diagnosis, and an accurate diagnosis is always the starting point for the right solution. Daniel is still renting. He's building his credit score. He's growing his savings in a high-yield savings account. He's investing the premium difference between what he pays in rent and what ownership would cost. He's not waiting passively. He's building. Running the real numbers before you sign is not pessimism. It is the only sane way to navigate a market this expensive and this broken. You now know exactly why it is broken, and that's the most valuable thing you can take away from this. If this video helped you understand the housing market more clearly, hit the like button right now. It genuinely helps the channel reach more people who are confused and stressed about their housing situation and deserve these real numbers. There's a Daniel in everyone's life right now. The like button gets this video in front of him. Don't stop here. Your next financial breakthrough could be just one video away. Click one of these videos on your screen, subscribe to Golden Endings for more real money lessons, and until next time, take care and have a good one.